Thank you, Sue. What a beautiful way to start the day, huh? Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Larry Perlman, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to welcome you to the service by the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Shenandoah Valley. Can't say it 3 times fast. What we are welcoming you into is a safe place, a place which honors the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. We're not here to convert you to anything, but rather just to encourage you to find your path to a full life of integrity, compassion, and love. What a better world this would be if everybody knew you don't have to think alike to love alike. Please take note of our mission statement, which is written on the front of your order of service. And also, we encourage each other to promote and practice the 8 principles, which are on the back of your order of service. I'd like to welcome our visitors today, and the way we like to do that, if this is the first time you've been here, or the second, or maybe you haven't been here in a while, then you'd stand up, just tell us your name and where you're from. And I know we have at least one visitor on this side, so let's start on this side.
Good morning. Okay.
Go right ahead.
Okay, sorry. My name is Margaret, and I live in Orlando, and I go to the UU Church there.
Welcome.
Good to have you back.
I'm Kathy, I'm from Florida, but I also live here and I'm back.
Good. You didn't carpool up together.
Thank you.
My name is Evan Richardson, and I'm here with Made of Commerce, and I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you, welcome. Anyone else on this side? How about over here?
Good morning, my name's Mark Smallwood, just moved in near the end of Black Mountain Road here, and a place to visit today.
Welcome. Thank you. Anyone else over here?
Hi, my name is BJ. I live in Swananoa.
Welcome.
All the way from Swananoa. Wow. Anybody else? Well, thank you. We do want to welcome you here. You know, even though it's not football season yet, we know there's a lot of things you could be doing this Sunday besides being here. So we appreciate that you chose to come and be with us this morning. If you're interested in learning more about us, you'll find a little white card. Looks a lot like this, either in the pew in front of you or out in the foyer. You can fill that in and either drop it in the collection plate along with your $1,000 bill, or just leave it on the back in the foyer, and we'll pick those up and get in touch. Oh, by the way, feel free, do we have any membership committee members here? Oh, Andy, okay. Do you have your orange?
No, my orange tag is at home.
Oh, well, okay. So,
Sit down.
Holly too.
but if you have any questions, stick around after service. We have a little coffee hour. Feel free to ask questions of the people with the imaginary orange tags. Oh, there's one over there. Yes. I'd also like to just acknowledge members who have just joined in the last 6 months. Anybody here, if you'd like to stand up, say your name, who has just joined in the last 6 months?
Yay!
Hi.
Gracie.
Hello. I'm Gracie Novacek. I just joined in the last 6 months. If you can believe it or not. I'm happy to be here.
Anybody else? Okay, they're all watching football. Okay.
But Larry, there is a longtime member who has been away for a while, and I want to welcome her back. Hello, Pam Sane.
Yay!
Oh, Pam. Thank you. If you want to know what's going on in our congregation, we have a newsletter, comes out weekly. It's called The Current. If you fill one of these out, you'll get on the list, and once a week you'll get The Current, which tells you what's going on in our congregation. Also, on the bulletin board just outside the door there in the foyer, you can check that out, not now, but when you leave, or on the way to coffee hour, and we'll see not only announcements regarding what's happening here, but also in the community at large. It is our practice to acknowledge that the land where we are now gathered has not always been land that we could call our home. UUCSB respectfully acknowledges that the land we are on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee and other indigenous peoples. It was through their stewardship, understanding, and conservation that they survived and continued to thrive in this land. And we would acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. Oh, if I haven't mentioned it, please turn off your cell phones or otherwise disable them. Now we'll let our service begin. Over here in case I do it like last week.
Yikes.
We light our chalice with the hope that our conversation today will move us along the path toward greater understanding and an increased commitment to equity, with gratitude for those who have come before us, leaving a legacy of dedication to the betterment of the world, and with confidence that creative ideas, enthusiasm, and commitments will emerge from our time together and enable us to achieve our personal and collective goals.
Good morning. Our opening hymn today is number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life. Please feel free to stand and sing if you are willing and able. Now is the time in our service where you have the opportunity to come forward and light a candle for a joy that's lighting up your life right now, or if you have a sorrow or a concern or a stone that is weighing you down, we welcome you to come and place a stone in the water. Is there anyone else that needs me to bring a stone to them? Then I light this candle for the joy that lights up all of our lives. And place a stone for those who didn't choose to come up and share, but a recognition that those stones do exist, and we try to continue to move them. It's that time in the service where we ask you to help us continue the great works of this congregation. As you share as graciously as you can with us, we can share as graciously as we can with our community and the community at large. Thank you very much for your generosity. Today's meditation comes to us from a couple, Ed and Deb Shapiro. They're the authors of a book called Be the Change, and this is called Find Your Peace in the Midst of Chaos. One of the greatest spiritual teachings is the awareness that all things are impermanent, that all things come and go, that you cannot cling to anything, not even pleasure, without also creating suffering. As you integrate the truth of this teaching, it's wonderfully liberating, for it brings you back into the present moment. If everything is so impermanent, including yourself and your feelings, then there is no purpose in holding on and trying to make those feelings last longer. Rather, there is far greater joy in releasing them and reconnecting to sanity and peace. Releasing them and reconnecting. Chaos is natural. If you look at the world, it's everywhere. But to find your peace in the midst of chaos is something you have to deal with. Life is unpredictable and will bring about many different emotions and mind states that can be challenging and difficult, even unbearable at times. But beneath all the drama, distractions, and problems, there is a still and calm place you can rest in. Amidst the turmoil, find just one moment of peace in each day, and your whole life becomes more joyful. Like the water in a lake, when your mind is calm, you can see the depths below. But when your mind is disturbed, it is easy to get caught up in the waves. And now, for just a moment, while our minds are one, I leave you with the eloquence of silence. And may you carry this blessed, peaceful moment with you throughout the day and into the days to come. We have a treat. I would thank you for introducing yourself earlier, Evan. I would like to, we're gonna take just a moment to get some technological stuff put together, and while we do that, Evan Richardson is going to introduce our speaker for today. So thank you.
Thank you, Bro. It's an honor and blessing to be with you here today. I live in Asheville, and wanted to let you know that I'm a Quaker and a member of the Asheville Friends Meeting, though not actively engaged right now. I come here as a friend and student of Maida's. I have had the blessing of participating in 3 of the Story Medicine programs, and also a member of the Story Medicine community. Through the Story Medicine programs, which really were crafted by Maida as kind of a gift that Maida has given to the world, I have learned the power, the healing power of being in the presence of story. To be guided to actually access the stories within me, and to be worked upon and impacted by the stories of others. I was really inspired by the fact that right now we're framed by the word love and truth. And as a Quaker for 40 years, I've practiced a discipline of centering into worship, where my mind is focusing on the love and seeking truth in the context of community. Story medicine is essentially rooted in the philosophy of Ubuntu, which essentially means I exist because we are. The experience of being in community, being aware of the connection between each of us and all of creation, seeking love and truth, is incredibly healing. Maida, as a person, is certainly more than the sum of her parts, and she brings to the work that she does the fact that she is a poet, a writer, a singer, African-American person growing up and shaped by the civil rights movement in the south side of Chicago, a woman, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a grandmother, a granddaughter, a healer, wellness practitioner, and so much more. I think It's a treat to be able to be here, to be in the presence of Maida and to hear her message. And what I would ask as you receive the message that she has for you is that we all gather in the spirit of Ubuntu and to be open to allowing all of those different aspects of yourself, those parts that you bring to who you are, to be open and to allow the story to not just enter into your mind, but be aware of your heart and your body, because that is where the true healing exists. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm very honored and grateful to be with you this morning. I did not realize the effect that this image would have on me. You might see me, I'm just speaking before I begin my piece, you might see me tremble a little bit, and that's because of a post-traumatic stress response that I have. However, once I warm up, it will calm down and all will flow. I mention that only because I was giving a performance once and a woman came up and gave me her shawl and said, "You must be cold, and here's my shawl. I'm not cold, it's just my stress." Adages, a love story. Violence. I've been thinking about violence since I was a child, witnessing it, experiencing it, feeling its long-lasting effects. As a writer, I've tried writing my way, even tried writing my way through and beyond violence. When I look around our world today, violence seems our most serious public health crisis. War and annihilation are the outcomes of violence allowed to run its course. Not in my entire life have I seen a time when war was not raging. A time of peace in our world is something I have not known. Yet, hold the phone. I've come to share something heartwarming today. Something hopeful. We are boomers, born on the heels of a war we were named for, a war that shaped our lives. But together right now, let's permit ourselves a time to practice peace. Just for now, as we offer our minds and hearts a shift to the respite within. Just for now, let us go where our resources are, where the treasure trove of memories resides, patiently waiting there for us to remember and tap into it. Let us journey now. My West African culture was alive and strong in me from my earliest memory. As a young woman, I sought the wise counsel of my elders before making any important decision. This culture sees eldering as the time when we prepare to become ancestors. In this ancient culture, life is known as a circle traveled by every living thing, beginning when we are newborn and continuing all around the seasons of development and fruition and potentiality, culminating with our entry into the ancestral realm. In this culture, energy is known to be indestructible, only changing form as we travel. Energy, then, is spirit. I had initially planned to talk with you today focused on violence, sharing some of the material I've learned in the course of my teaching of history and healing. But thanks to the Spirit, I shifted from that idea in favor of something softer, something easier and more unifying, a talk about my grandmother. We all have grandmothers, but do we know them? I mean, really know who they were and what they fought for in their lives? Do we know them today as ancestors? Do we have a living relationship with our grandmothers? While you let that question live in your awareness, let me suggest to you in what way it might have anything to do with war. The wars being fought today seem endless and to have no logical solution. In modern history, the long list of wars is daunting. And even more so, we were not taught the truth about what really started some of them. Nevertheless, these wars were clearly fought over the dominion, might. Who shall occupy the seat, the throne of power on the land? Will it be the white man? Surely he has access to the world's greatest arsenals and military resources. But wait, when it comes to people of the global majority, all we have left now is the ruins of colonialism. We have chaos as young people with automatic weapons roam the streets of Port-au-Prince, the various regions on the African continent, Rio de Janeiro, places where we have been taught to think of ourselves as the minority when we are anything but. Now will our numbers and the natural resources we inherited but still do not own be enough to save our lives, enough to save humanity? Our grandmothers, the ones who lived their lives demonstrating love, humility, and wisdom, not fighting wars, have been waiting for us to ask them these questions. They didn't fight the external wars. More to the point, they fought their wars answering the battle cry of their lives on the battlefield within. So please awaken with me from the various hypnotic trances that distract you from your precious life. And let me share with you some of my own memories as I use them as medicine for our journey, for our legacy. Enter story medicine, an ancient way of healing handed down from the old ones. From the days of my youth, my grandmother gave it to me, taught and demonstrated it. In the spirit of this sacred medicine, in the spirit of all of our grandmothers, I'd like to share with you some adages, these sayings of hers that will always be with me. Not very far from here in the hills of eastern Tennessee, she was born the first generation free, the 13th and last child in her family. Frances Smith grew up and went to the teacher's training program at Knoxville College, but did not complete it. Even without the full benefit of her education, she would become one of those teachers I will never forget. Identifying as mulatto in the 1920 census, she became a healer, speaker, writer of sacred poetry, who published her work. Equipped with her poem books, she boldly approached strangers at the busy bus stop, the furniture salesman in the department store, her neighbors on the block, happily selling her little books for $2 each, or for whatever donation they could afford. When someone walked her way, she would greet them with eye contact, a smile, a firm handshake, and a friendly howdy do. Just in case you're not sure, this means how do you do? Neighbors in our community called her Miss Frances. Whenever I visit our old block in Chicago, somebody there still remembers and tells about Miss Frances. But her children called her Mama Frank. She was many things to my brother and me, sometimes mother, sometimes grandmother, depending upon the circumstances. We spent much of our early childhood with her captive audience at her knee, falling under her influence of her wondrous teachings. She taught us hymns, and we'll understand it better by and by. All 66 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. She taught us to recite Psalms 1 and Psalms 23 by heart. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. our multiplication tables from 2 up to 12, and of course, the parts of speech. All of this by rhythm and tune. She made learning such fun. And with her method, you never forgot any of it. Numbers and Deuteronomy. Folks called her a prayer warrior who could get a prayer through, and she would take healing prayer requests from anyone. She kept a knee pad beside her bed to kneel there and pray during her early morning devotion. When I say she was a healer, that's something she didn't discuss, lest she be accused of witchcraft. She would just visit the sick, lay hands on and pray. Her presence, her hands, both so strong. Always she walked in service, carrying comfort, empathy, compassion wherever she went. She naturally and freely gave away the very things that she needed. Comfort, empathy, compassion, gave them away freely, knowing that these things came from an inexhaustible supply. I know about this firsthand. Once when I was in the 9th grade, I suddenly got a very high fever. I told Mama Frank that I was sick. I fell into bed and she came into my room with a cloth and a bottle of rubbing alcohol. She poured some alcohol over the cloth and gently draped it across my forehead. Then she sat on the side of my bed, took my hand, and said a prayer. In just a few minutes, something moved through my body, my fever broke, and I felt as good as new. Her cooking was so good that her meals put meat on my bones and a long-lasting smile on my face. I have even written poems telling how nurturing Mama Frank's food was for me. Let me tell you, her gravy alone could be a meal, all to itself. Hallelujah. Fattening food sizzled as she whistled. Cushions of fattening food she gave me, hoe cakes off the skillet, tomatoes fried and green, or sweet stewed red with white bread. Her head held high, she walked tall and with dignity. Before she left the house, she would put on a small wool hat along with a neck scarf wrapped snugly at the nape. Taught never to expose her neck or the mole of her head to the elements, she didn't. Not even in the summer heat. Taught to cover her knees at all times. She would never even wear a dress shorter than the bottoms of her knees. So now that I've introduced her, I'll share some of her adages, starting with this one. You see, in my sophomore year of high school, girls' fashion and dress codes changed dramatically. Suddenly, hip hugger slacks and miniskirts were allowed. Oh boy, what a time. You let your knees be neighbors and keep your dress tail down, Mama Frank would say.
Of course, emphasizing that last part about your dress tail. In her day, a time before automobiles and television, girls had to be modest and keep covered. Hidden inside was a deeper teaching, hidden inside this adage was a deeper teaching about purity and silence, a very specific idea about how a girl was expected to behave. One day I had asked her about something I couldn't talk about with my mother, about kissing and petting. Right away she stopped me and asked, "Did you talk with your mother about this?" "No," I said. Then came her familiar shorthand, prefaced by these 3 words, "Land sakes alive. Any man who gets that close to me has got to be my husband." That's all. Next topic. It would take me a lifetime to see and understand that for Mama Frank, unfortunately, there was only metaphor, no plain language for the subject of sex. She had a way of telling stories about her life, her dreams, her thoughts. She barely touched upon some of this in her poems, perfectly rhymed and metered, practically all of them in code. She did not write her stories down, she only told them. And some of her stories were hard to hear. She had been through an awful lot, and sometimes listening to her made me angry. But alas, she took comfort in her programs. She faithfully watched the CBS daily soap operas, from Love of Life to The Edge of Night, not to mention her favorite movies, Imitation of Life, and Johnny Belinda, that left her sobbing uncontrollably. So at an early age, I decided never to put up with and endure the kind of hardship she had. Here again, an infinite amount of knowledge and wisdom came along with what she told me. She said to always remember that in the end, good'll come out of it. By this she meant that no matter what happened, regardless how hard it felt going through at the time, you could rest in the knowledge that something good would result. Given what I knew about her life, this was almost impossible to accept. But because she said it, I did. Then, whenever I was sad, she'd whisper these words into my ear. God's got good things in store for you. And when nobody was looking, she'd slip me a piece of candy. You see, candy was my childhood tranquilizer. In my life, my mother enforced the rules in good times and bad. Then Mama Frank gave me candy to sweeten those harsh times. Now this particular saying of hers requires no coaxing. I took it straight in as necessity, life-giving. And of course, since I believed her, it was really true. Here's another adage. Now, if you don't have what you want, take what you have and make what you want. I've probably used this one most of all. Mama Frank never had very much of anything material. Typical of the Appalachian women of her time, she grew up making her own clothes and even her own sewing patterns. She didn't throw away clothing, taking scraps from this and that, making thick quilts to keep us warm in the winter. After moving north during the Great Migration, whenever she could, she would send boxes of clothes to her people back home. To Mama Frank, a slow walk to the thrift store was a rare treat. Inside, she would hunt, find, and purchase pure fabrics, pure wool, pure cotton, things that appeared to her to be hardly ever worn. From her, I learned that even buying used clothing could be done with gratitude. And this adage, one of my thoughts would bust your head wide open. I never expected to handle or contain what she knew, so this one I never questioned. Now for the last adage. When you don't know what to do, don't do nothing. When she would tell me this, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't quite grasp its meaning. But life taught me to see it this way. When I am in doubt, when I feel the need to pause, consider my option, when the way forward isn't quite clear, I just wait and let the Spirit lead me. Sometimes the wait lengthens while I get better prepared for that next step. Sometimes I just need to notice the turn up ahead, whatever it is. This is about paying closer attention to the road signs in my journey. Through her love and care, she exemplified the roles of woman, mother, grandmother. Spending time with her, receiving and absorbing her many teachings, these memories are treasured gifts nothing and no one can take away. Gifts that warm my heart at times like this, in times when life seems so complicated and fast and mean, and when I am tempted to feel powerless. And now for the revelation. Wars don't end because humans are fighting them, depleting the resources of the planet, exacting a merciless havoc and destruction in the world that will take millennia to heal. Wars that spread like wildfire here, there, with no respecter of place or time, appear to be spiritual in nature. And we know that spiritual problems require spiritual solutions. Wars of the sort we know cannot be won by humans. Wars of a spiritual nature must be completed in the realm of spirit. Our ancestors left these wars and their origin stories to us. What if it is now our work to recognize them as spiritual and to respectfully, after all else has failed, return them to the ancestors to finish their work? What if our evolutionary role as the changed generation is to cease fighting destructive, unwinnable wars and to allow the ancestors to solve, end, and heal them once and for all with the weaponry of spirit? Help me, somebody.
Yes.
Our world needs love, the most powerful force in the universe. Our grandmothers knew this. They demonstrated it They showed us what real, true love looks like. Hardly simplistic like Mama Frank's adages, this lesson requires a great faith. A faith that people all over the world know how to demonstrate. For we have, throughout human history, been required to have this unwavering, bone-deep faith in life and in the indomitable, divine human spirit. It's indigenous. It's what sustained us and brought us through. I don't hear you.
Yes.
So today, my question is to all grandparents. Grandparenting of the sort that Mama Frank modeled back in our day could be considered a form of fine art. To point to the wars Mama Frank fought is to see her private inner wars against oppression, resisting the abusable powers of religion, money, gender, and race. That her struggle became mine became clear to me as an elder only after I'd studied her life, my mother's life, and then mine. Can you see this? And I ask you, grandparents, what stories, adages, and poems do you use to soothe the rough spots in your heart, in the hearts and lives of your grandchildren, to strengthen, encourage, and give them hope? What memories and stories do you stop and take from those keepsakes in your inner treasure chest and teach your loved ones about the battles you've fought and survived? How will you, as an elder, demonstrate peace that is wise and life-giving? Do you see your purpose as an elder? Do you see your story, medicine, legacy? I'll leave you now with one of her short poems. It's one I know by heart, having learned it while teaching it to my youngest son. It is simply called Sunshine. Just spread sunshine wherever you can. Utter no words that may wound a man. Watch your actions govern your tongue. Harsh words are spoken. Hearts are stung. Whoever you are, be gentle. So little it costs to be kind. Your kindness will soon be rewarded with the gift of a peaceful mind. Thank you so much for letting me share these precious memories of my great grandmother today.
Meta will be out in the lobby at a table with her books and very willing to listen and hear anything that's on your heart that you feel like you'd like to share as a result of her talk with us today. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Excuse me.
All righty. Excuse me, for our closing hymn today, it is hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. And please stand if you are willing and able.
And our closing words today come from Reverend Maureen Killeran, Daring for Peace. As we are confronted by chaos, may we have the wisdom to believe in peace. Surrounded by voices of disagreement, may we have the audacity to speak for peace. Lured by the seduction of despair, may we have the courage to maintain a vision of possibility and peace. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon, everybody.